At 9:40 a.m. in Tehran, the center of the Islamic Republic's command structure was intact. By 9:43, it was collapsing. Precision munitions struck a government compound believed to house the offices of the presidency, the Supreme National Security Council, and the Supreme Leader. It targeted the decision-making core of the Iranian state. Within hours, Iranian state television confirmed that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was dead. The operation had not been improvised. It was the culmination of years of intelligence penetration, strategic recalibration, and escalating distrust between three states that have shaped the Middle East for nearly half a century. To understand the strike, the structure beneath it must be examined. In 1979, the overthrow of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi replaced a monarchy aligned with Washington with a revolutionary regime under Ayatollah Khamenei. The new Islamic Republic redefined legitimacy not through electoral pluralism but through religious authority. From its inception, the system identified the United States and Israel as adversarial forces embedded in the region. Over time, Iran expanded its influence indirectly. Rather than confronting Israel conventionally, it financed and armed proxy networks. Rather than matching American force projection, it developed deterrence through missiles, regional militias, and strategic ambiguity. Power was distributed through parallel institutions. The elected presidency functioned alongside clerical oversight. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps evolved into a military and economic powerhouse, often operating beyond civilian supervision. The supreme leader remained the final authority, positioned above both. This layered structure created resilience. It also created vulnerability. Remove the apex and coordination becomes uncertain. In 2002, disclosures regarding covert enrichment facilities intensified global suspicion. Uranium enrichment can power reactors. It can also shorten the path to a weapon. The distinction depends on intent and transparency. The 2015 nuclear agreement temporarily slowed escalation. When the United States withdrew in 2018, constraints weakened and distrust accelerated. Sanctions tightened. Iran expanded enrichment levels beyond previous limits. Israel publicly warned that it would not permit a nuclear threshold state to emerge. From that point forward, diplomacy and military preparation advanced simultaneously. By 2025, Iran was navigating simultaneous crises. Externally, Israeli and American strikes targeted hardened nuclear facilities using bunker-penetrating munitions. Air defenses were tested. Command networks were probed. Internally, economic deterioration deepened. Currency depreciation reduced savings to fractions of their former value. Food prices climbed sharply. Public demonstrations expanded beyond isolated grievances into broader expressions of dissatisfaction. The leadership responded with calibrated force and messaging designed to project stability. But stability required coherence at the top. Intelligence agencies observed that under pressure, senior officials increasingly consolidated meetings into secure compounds to reduce exposure during travel. What was intended as protection created predictability. Predictability invites planning. For months, intelligence services tracked communication patterns, movement rhythms, and contingency behaviors. Surveillance did not focus on spectacle, it focused on timing. When signals indicated that multiple senior figures would be present in the same secured location, the window opened. Israeli planners designated the mission Operation Roaring Lion. The United States referred to its coordinated component as Epic Fury. The objective was not territorial gain. It was decapitation. Aircraft launched before dawn. Strike packages were layered. Air defense suppression preceded penetration. Electronic interference disrupted radar coherence. 2 hours and 5 minutes after takeoff, the compound was hit. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed. Alongside him were senior military and defense officials, including the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces and the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The president survived. Other political figures quickly appeared on state media to assert continuity. But continuity without the central authority is procedural, not strategic. The strike on leadership was only the first phase. Israeli forces expanded operations to degrade missile stockpiles and neutralize air defense systems around Tehran. A third wave reportedly deployed approximately 200 aircraft aimed at limiting Iran's capacity for immediate retaliation. The United States concentrated on eastern targets and naval assets. Warships launched cruise missiles. Rocket systems targeted infrastructure tied to long-range capabilities. The intent was to compress Iran's response window and fragment coordination across theaters. Iran responded with Operation True Promise 4. Missiles were launched toward Israel and other regional sites. Armed groups aligned with Tehran resumed maritime attacks in the Red Sea. Drones targeted strategic infrastructure across multiple states. Air defenses across the region activated in rapid succession. The scale signaled capability. The dispersion signaled strain. Some projectiles were intercepted. Others reached civilian and military targets. Regional airspace closures followed. Energy markets reacted immediately, anticipating disruption through the Strait of Hormuz. Escalation became systemic rather than bilateral. In the port city of Manab, an airstrike struck near a naval installation. Adjacent to that installation stood a primary school. Iranian media reported heavy casualties, many of them children. United States Central Command announced a review. Attribution in fast-moving campaigns is often contested. Civilian harm, however, reshapes perception regardless of intent. Each additional casualty recalibrates international tolerance. With the supreme leader dead, Iran confronted a structural question. The Constitution provides mechanisms for succession, but legitimacy within the Islamic Republic is not purely procedural. It depends on clerical consensus and elite alignment. Externally, oil prices rose sharply amid fears of maritime disruption. Governments prepared contingency reserves. Military postures hardened across the Gulf. In Washington, the justification centered on preemption and threat elimination. In Tehran, the narrative framed martyrdom and resistance. Public reaction inside Iran split between mourning and quiet relief. What remained constant was uncertainty. The strike removed the symbolic and operational apex of the Iranian system. It did not eliminate the state. Power redistributed downward into competing institutions that had long functioned beneath a single authority. The Revolutionary Guard, the presidency, and clerical bodies now operate without a unifying figure. Whether that produces consolidation or fragmentation will define the next phase. The missiles altered more than a skyline in Tehran. They disrupted a hierarchy that had structured regional politics for decades. And once a hierarchy is broken at the top, restoration is rarely immediate.